What's up, Packer fans? Welcome back to Cheesehead Talk. It's your boy Tramel coming back with another video. I've been gone for a little bit. I never got a chance to do that recap video for the Cowboys versus Packers game, and I didn't do a preview video for the Packers versus Lions game. I went to Dallas and I came back home last week. And when I came back, I just had a lot of stuff to do. And I just never got a chance to make those videos. But now we're back. We're back and we're rolling. And let's talk about this Green Bay Packers versus the Detroit Lions game on Monday Night Football. The Packers won this game with the score of 23-22 on Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field. And it was a very, very ugly game. It was a very ugly win. It wasn't pretty at all. But the Packers get another division win. They improved their division record to 3-0, and they improved their overall record to 5-1. So it was a very important win for the Green Bay Packers. But like I said, it wasn't pretty at all. And we're going to talk about all that in this video. So let's get to it. And I guess we could start with the biggest storyline of the game. The officiating. The officiating in this football game was absolutely horrendous for both teams, for the Packers and for the Lions. But it was really, really horrendous for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to just be completely honest. The referees really did screw the Detroit Lions over in this football game. The two hands to the face calls on Trey Flowers. I think the first one that was called on Trey Flowers was actually hands to the face. I saw a picture of it on Twitter where he had his hands on David Bakhtiari's face mask. But the second one that was called on him, it wasn't hands to the face at all. And that pretty much ended the game. And then also the Kerryon Johnson incomplete pass. I thought that was a catch. Maybe I'm wrong about that one. Maybe I'm not. I thought it was a catch. And Detroit ended up having to punt on that possession, and the Packers got the ball back. And then also the pass interference that wasn't called on Will Redmond when he completely interfered with Marvin Jones on that deep ball in the fourth quarter. That was another play for the Lions where they got screwed by the refs. But the Packers got screwed by the refs as well, but it just wasn't as much as the Lions in this game. I think on that Kerryon Johnson touchdown, the only touchdown Detroit scored in this game, I don't think he got in the end zone. Maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it looked like he was short, and Detroit shouldn't have got a touchdown on that play. And then also, it was another bad call that the refs made on Green Bay. On Elton Jenkins, he ended up getting called for a holding penalty when he just made a very good block on the defender. And like I said, the officiating was just terrible in this game for both teams. And I can understand the frustration from the Lions organization and the Lions fans because every year they do get screwed out of games. I mean, the Packers get screwed in games as well, but I think with the Lions, it's even worse. You could say this year's game against the Packers, they got screwed. 2 weeks ago when they played Kansas City, you could say they got screwed. They've gotten screwed against the Seahawks 1 year when Cam Chancellor batted the ball out of bounds. The game against the Falcons where they had the 10-second runoff and they ended up losing that game. The game against the Cowboys in the playoffs where it was a clear pass interference that wasn't called. And it's just a lot of games that the Detroit Lions have been screwed in. But like I said, the Packers have been screwed in a lot of games as well. And I really don't feel sorry for the Detroit Lions. One, they're a divisional opponent. Two, we get screwed as well. It happens. But I just hate that we won this way because now I have to hear all these Lions fans and all these fans from different teams saying, "Oh, we cheated. Oh, the refs screwed us. This, and that." I don't feel like hearing that. The Lions could have capitalized on those drives that they had. They kicked field goals, and that ended up hurting them in this football game. But I'm done with the officiating part, and let's talk about what went down in that football game. And we could start with the first half of that game. In the first half, first drive of the game, the Detroit Lions got the football. First play of the game, they hit us with a flea flicker, 66-yard pass to Kenny Golladay because Will Redmond bit on the play fake. And they hit us for a huge one on that one. But the Green Bay Packers defense did a very good job of holding that Lions team to a field goal on that drive. And then the offense got the football, and we ran two running plays, back-to-back running plays. Then on third down, Aaron Rodgers with a nice pass to Geronimo Allison. He got separation on the cornerback, and then he ends up dropping the ball when the cornerback touches him. And Geronimo Allison, man, he's just struggling this season. He's got so many drops this year, and he's really been terrible this season. Then on the next possession, the Lions get the ball back. Packers end up having to punt, so the Lions get the ball back. And they hit us with another big play, a 61-yard pass to Marvin Hall. I've never even heard of Marvin Hall. And they hit us with a big play on that drive, and they end up scoring a touchdown. Kerryon Johnson allegedly reached over the plane and scored a touchdown. So the score ended up being 10-0. Then the Packers get the ball back on the next drive, and they do a very good job of driving down the field. And then Aaron Jones, he had a tough day. He ended up fumbling the football and giving it right back to the Detroit Lions. So they get back on offense, and then they kick another field goal. They drive down the field, and the Packers defense did an excellent job of holding them to a field goal again. And the Packers were only down 13-0. So the Packers got off to a very bad start in that first quarter. But they will make up for it with their next two possessions. Jamal Williams ended up scoring a receiving touchdown, and he was excellent in this game. And then the next drive, they ended up kicking a field goal, making it 13-10. Fast forward to the second half. The Green Bay Packers opening drive in the second half. They end up kicking a field goal. Then they get a stop on defense. They end up getting a sack on Matthew Stafford. And they force the Lions to have to punt the football. And the Packers are going to get the ball in decent field position. And the momentum is going to swing their way. And then what happens? The guy was very, very disappointed in that football game. Darius Shepard. Oh my goodness. It was 2 times in that game where we had momentum going on our side, and he just caused silly turnovers. That punt return, he ended up muffing the punt return when it was tied 13-13. Momentum is swinging our way, and he muffs the punt. And he gives the ball right back to Detroit in Green Bay territory. But the defense did a great job on that next possession. They held the Lions to another field goal. But Darius Shepard definitely should have waited for a fair catch. That was so silly of him to try to return that. I mean, the dude was all in his face, and he didn't wait for a fair catch. And he ended up muffing the punt. But the Packers defense didn't break, and they only gave up a field goal. So now the score is 16-13. Fast forward again. The score is now 19-13 in the fourth quarter, and the Green Bay Packers have momentum swinging their way again. They're driving down the field, and now they're in the red zone. And Aaron Rodgers throws a beautiful pass to wide open Darius Shepard. Wide open. And he slips. He drops the ball. It hits his face mask. And it ends up being intercepted by Justin Coleman. And he takes it all the way to about the 50-yard line. And he gives Detroit the ball in great field position. And once they did that, that's when I thought the game was over, because the offense just couldn't get the ball in the end zone at that point in the game. And I felt like time was just running out. It was still plenty of time left to come back, as we saw. But the way things were looking on the offensive side of the ball, Geronimo Allison had already got hurt. So now he was down to Darius Shepard, Jake Kummerow, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. And they just weren't able to get anything going at that point of the game. And it looked like Detroit was going to run off with this one. And they ended up kicking a field goal on that drive. The defense did another great job of holding them to a field goal. They bent, but they didn't break. And now the score is 22-13. So now on the next drive, the Packers are down by 9. It's third down. And Aaron Rodgers ends up taking a sack. And some people would say he got bailed out by the hands to the face call on Trey Flowers. But from what I saw on Twitter, it looked like Trey Flowers had David Bakhtiari's face mask from the picture that I saw on Twitter. Now, when I saw the replay during the game, it didn't look like he did. But I guess you could say the Packers got bailed out with that call, because if that goes down as a sack and that penalty isn't called, the game is probably over. But the Packers get another chance. They get a first down, and that's a huge penalty. And what happens next? Somebody stepped up for us at the wide receiver position. Alan Lazard. He came in the middle of the fourth quarter in the clutch time. He subbed in for Darius Shepard, and he came up huge for the Green Bay Packers. He caught a huge touchdown to make it a 2-point game. It was just an absolute beautiful pass by Aaron Rodgers and a beautiful catch by Alan Lazard. I didn't even know how he caught the football. When I saw it in real time, I didn't know what happened. I just saw him come up and with the football in his hand, and I saw him celebrating, and man, was I excited. Huge game for Alan Lazard. He really came up big in this football game, and I think he's moved up to number 3 at the depth chart. He has to move up to number 3 in the depth chart over Kumaro, over Allison, because those guys haven't showed up yet this year, and they've had enough chances to show up. And Alan Lazard, when his number was called, he came in and he stepped up. And then on the next possession, the Green Bay Packers defense gets another stop, and they force the Detroit Lions to have to punt again. But that's the same possession that the pass interference was not called on Will Redmond. I think Will Redmond clearly interfered with Marvin Jones in that possession. But the Detroit Lions could have challenged that play. I think they didn't challenge because this season it's a very low percentage of challenges won on pass interference calls. So I guess that's why the Detroit Lions didn't challenge that play. But they had the opportunity to challenge if they thought it was pass interference. But they didn't. And the Packers offense got the football back, and they didn't give it back for the rest of the game. The Green Bay Packers kept the football the last 6 minutes and change of that football game. So now let's talk about the very end of that football game. It's third down. The Packers have about a minute and 20 something seconds remaining in the game, and the Detroit Lions don't have any more timeouts left. And all they need is a stop to force the Green Bay Packers to kick a field goal so they can get the ball back and possibly win this game. And like I said, it's third down. The Packers get an incomplete pass, but they get bailed out with a silly penalty call on Trey Flowers, the hands to the face. Now, this one definitely wasn't hands to the face, and this is where the Lions really got screwed. It wasn't hands to the face. The Packers got bailed out, and they ended up holding the ball all the way down to the final seconds to kick the field goal so Detroit wouldn't get a chance to get the ball back, and the Packers ended up winning this game. And it was a smart heads-up play by Jamal Williams. The Lions tried to allow him to score a touchdown so they could get the ball back and have a chance to still win this football game. But Jamal Williams, he was smart enough to get down, and that continued to run the clock. And the Packers ran it all the way down, and Mason Crosby kicked the game-winning field goal to improve the Packers' record to 5-1. Now, let's take a look at some stats for this Packers offense, and let's give them a grade for this football game against the Lions. Aaron Rodgers, he played a very good football game. He looked just like Aaron Rodgers, and he made some amazing throws in this game. He went 24 for 39, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that 1 interception because of Darius Shepard. And he also finished with a 90 passer rating, and he was only sacked 1 time. A lot of people are saying Aaron Rodgers has lost it. Aaron Rodgers has not lost it. He's still Aaron Rodgers, and he proved that against the Lions in this game. And then the offensive line, they did an amazing job protecting Rodgers. I mean, he had all day to throw the football. Like I said, he was only sacked 1 time, and that's because they sent a blitz. So the only reason Rodgers got sacked is because the Lions had to blitz him. Now, the run game for the Packers. Jamal Williams, man, was he excellent. It's great to have him back. After missing the last 2 weeks because of a concussion, he came back in this game, and he was great. He had 14 carries for 104 yards. And then the second leading rusher for the Packers was Aaron Jones. He had 11 carries for 47 yards, and he had a very rough day. Very rough day. He had that fumble that completely changed the momentum, and then he had a wide open touchdown where all he had to do was catch the ball, and he just dropped the football. So it was a tough day for Aaron Jones, and I expect him to bounce back. He wasn't that bad, but it was a tough day for him. And then Aaron Rodgers was our third leading rusher. He had 3 carries for 10 yards, and Valdez-Scantling had 1 carry for 9 yards. And then you look at this receiving game. We're still struggling at this position. I think it's time to get on the phone with some team, whether that's the Cincinnati Bengals for A.J. Green, the Denver Broncos for Emmanuel Sanders, the Los Angeles Chargers for Keenan Allen, the Tennessee Titans for Corey Davis. I don't know. Somebody who can make an impact on this Green Bay Packers wide receiver depth chart, because the guys that we have right now, they're just not getting it done. Geronimo Allison, he just continues to drop the football. Darius Shepard, he showed in this game. He dropped the football. Jake Kummerow had a drop. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's supposed to be the number 2 receiver, and he's supposed to be our number 1 receiver right now with Devontae Adams down. But he just hasn't shown up. He comes in here and there with a play here and there, but it's just not enough. We need somebody who can step up. And in this game, it was Alan Lazard. But do you want to bank on that? I don't think so. I want a guy who's already proven. And with the NFC being very tight with the Saints, the 49ers, the Seahawks, I mean, we're all bunched in together. Anybody can win the NFC right now. And I think if the Packers get a A.J. Green or Emmanuel Sanders or somebody of that caliber, I think that separates us from those top teams in the NFC. And I think we can punch our ticket to the Super Bowl. That's why I want another wide receiver, even with Adams healthy or not. I think if we sign one of those guys, we could be the best team in the NFC and separate ourselves. But back to this Packers receiving game. In this football game, Alan Lazard led the way with 4 catches for 65 yards and a big touchdown. And like I said, he checked in the middle of the 4th quarter, and he caught all his passes in that 4th quarter, and he was big. He stepped up big in the clutch when the Green Bay Packers needed him. Now, I do think he could be good for the Packers. Can he step up? Maybe, but I just don't want to bank on that, and I think the Packers do need the trade. But our second leading receiver in this game was Mercedes Lewis. He was big. He had 2 big catches for 50 yards. He had a 26-yard catch and a 24-yard catch. And I think it's time for Mercedes Lewis to be tight end number 1 for this Green Bay Packers team, because Jimmy Graham, he's not it. I mean, Jimmy Graham just continues to struggle. He's super slow. He drops passes. And he's not good anymore. I'm sorry. Third leading receiver for the team was Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He had 2 catches for 48 yards. He had a very, very big catch in that 4th quarter. And I thought Valdez-Scantling was going to be the guy that stepped up as the number 1 option for the Packers when Devontae Adams went down. But so far, he just not doing it. He makes big catches here and there, but it's just not enough. And then Geronimo Allison had 3 catches for 40 yards. And he also had a couple of drops. And he went out with a concussion in that 3rd quarter, so he didn't get to finish this game. Jimmy Graham, he had 2 catches for 17 yards. And he had drops. And he showed in this game that he's extremely slow. And he's really useless now. Jake Kummerow, he had 2 catches for 17 yards. And he had a drop. Aaron Jones had 4 catches for 13 yards, and he had a crucial drop. A wide open pass, as I mentioned earlier. But the Packers did score on that possession. And then Darius Shepard had 1 catch for 1 yard. So like I said, it's time for the Packers to get on the phone with some team and trade for a wide receiver. Somebody who's proven in the NFL, whether that's a veteran receiver or an up-and-coming young wide receiver. We have to make a phone call. I think it's time. But my overall grade for this Packers offense in this game, I give it a B minus. No Devontae Adams in this one. They played a very solid Detroit Lions defense that's coached by Matt Patricia. He's a very good defensive coordinator, a very good head coach, and he's a defensive genius. And some guys stepped up. Mercedes Lewis stepped up in this game. Jamal Williams stepped up in this game. And Alan Lazar stepped up. And the offensive line did a great job. But we didn't score that many points. And we got stopped on some drives. And we turned the ball over 3 times in this game. 2 on the offensive side of the ball and 1 on the special teams. So I will give the offense a B minus. It can get better, but it wasn't bad at all. And I'm happy with the outcome. Now let's talk about this Green Bay Packers defense. Let's look at some stats for the Detroit Lions real quick. Stafford, after that hot start in that first quarter, he really cooled down. Aaron Rodgers finished with more passing yards than Matt Stafford. Stafford finished 18 for 32, 265 yards, and an 83.5 passer rate. He didn't throw a touchdown in this game. So that's a great job by the defense. They also shut down the run in this game. The last 2 weeks, the Packers' run defense has improved. But they did face a very bad run blocking offensive line by the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a terrible run blocking offensive line. But the Packers did what they were supposed to do. They shut the run game down. Kerryon Johnson only had 13 carries for 34 yards. Then in the receiving game, Kenny Golladay, he had a big game. He had 5 catches for 128 yards. And he's going to be special. Kenny Golladay is a stud, and I really like him. And then their second leading receiver was Marvin Hall. I told you, I don't know anything about this guy. And he had that one big catch in that first quarter for 58 yards. And then Kerryon Johnson was the third leading receiver with 2 catches for 27 yards. And Marvin Jones had 2 catches for 17 yards. Jair Alexander did an excellent job of shutting Marvin Jones down in this football game. Jair Alexander, he had another pass defense in this game, and he leads the NFL in pass defenses this year. So Jair Alexander had a bounce back game against the Lions after having a terrible game against the Dallas Cowboys last week. And then Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, those guys just continue to do what they do best, and that's getting after the quarterback. Now, the pressure wasn't there consistently by this Packers defense in this game, but they got there when they needed to. Zadarius Smith finished the game with 1 sack. Preston Smith finished the game with a sack and a half. And Kyler Fackrell got half a sack. So the Packers defense showed up in this game. They bent a little bit, but they didn't break. And they held this Lions team to 22 points, 4 field goals. They held this Lions team to 4 field goals. They did an excellent job. So my grade for this Packers defense in this game, I give it a B+. Like I said, they gave up 4 field goals and they gave up 1 touchdown, which I didn't think was a touchdown. So I give it a B+. Packers defense continues to play very well in 2019. And the Packers improved to 5-1, 3-0 in the division, and they're sitting at number 2 in the NFC. So now we get a little bit of cushion in the division, and we're at the top of the NFC. If you would have told me in the summer that we were going to be 5-1 at this point of the season, I wouldn't have believed it. In my prediction video back in July, at this point in the season, I had the Green Bay Packers starting 3-3. I had them losing to Chicago week 1. I had them losing to Philly in week 4. And I had them losing to Dallas in week 5. But the Packers are 5-1. Sitting at the top of the NFC. It feels great. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this game. Let me know your opinion on the officiating in this game. Let me know what you guys would grade the offense in this game and the defense in this game. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and also follow the social media on Instagram and on Twitter at Cheesehead_talk. Again, that's Cheesehead_talk. Go Pack, go.